التي تهبس الدعاء. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تقطع الرجاء. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل البلاء. اللهم اغفر لي كل ذنب أذنبته. اللهم اغفر لي كل ذنب أذنبته. اللهم اغفر لي كل ذنب أذنبته وكل خطيئة أخطأتها. اللهم إني أتقرب إليك بذكرك واستشفع بك إلى نفسك وأسألك بجودك أن تدنيني من قربك وأن توزعني شكرك وأن تلهمني ذكرك. اللهم إني أسألك سؤال خاض متذلل خاشع متضرع أن تسامحني وترحمني وتجعلني بك اسمك راضيا قانعا وفي جميع الأحوال متواضعا. اللهم وأسألك سؤال من اشتدت فاقته وأنزل بك عند الشدائد حاجته وعظم فيما عندك رغبته. اللهم أعظم سلطانك وعلى مكانك وخفي مكرك وظهر أمرك وغلب قهرك وجرت قدرتك ولا يمكن الفرار من حكومتك. اللهم لا جدو لذنوبي غافرا ولا لقبائه ساترا ولا لشيء من عملي الكبير بالحسن مبدلا غيرك. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك وبحمدك ظلمت نفسي ظلمت نفسي ظلمت نفسي وتجرأت بجهلي وسكنت إلى قديم ذكرك لي ومنك علي. اللهم مولاي كم من قبيح سترته وكم من فادح من البلاء أقلته وكم من إسار وكيته وكم من مكروه دفعته وكم من ثناء جميلا لست أهلا له نشرته. اللهم أعظم بلائي وفرط بسؤالي وقصرت بآمالي وقادت بإغلالي وحبسني النفع بعد أمالي. خذتني دنيا بغرورها ونفسي بخيانتها ومثالي يا سيدي فأسألك بعزتك ألا يحجبنك دعائي سوء عملي وفعالي ولا تفضحني بخفي ما اطلعت عليه من سري ولا تعاجلني بالعقوبة على ما عملته في خلواتي من سوء فعلي وسعتي ودوام تفريطي وجهالتي وكثرة شهوتي وغفلتي. وكن اللهم بعزتك لي في كل الأحوال رؤوفا وعلي في جميع الأمور عطوفا. إلهي ومولاي وربي من لي غيرك أسأله كشف ضري والنظر في أمري. إلهي ومولاي أجريت علي حكما اتبعت فيه هوى نفسي ولم أحترس فيه من تضيين عدوي فغرني بما هو وسده على ذلك القضاء، فتجاوزت بما جرى علي من ذلك بعد حدودك، وخالفت بعض أوامرك، فلك الحمد علي في جميع ذلك، ولا حجة لي فيما جرى علي فيه قضاؤك، والزمني حكمك وبلاؤك، وقد آتيتك يا إلهي بعد تقصيري وإسرافي على نفسي، معتذرا نادما منكسرا مستقيلا، مستغفرا منيبا مكرا مذنيا معترفا، لا أجد مفرا مما كان مني، ولا محزن توجه عليه في أمري غير قبولك عذري وإدخالك إياي في ساعة رحمتك. اللهم فاقبل عذري وارحم شدة ضري، وفكني من شد وساكي، يا رب ارحم، يا رب ارحم ضعف بدني وركض جلدي ودكض عظمي، يا من بدا خلقي وذكري وتربيتي وبري وتغذيتي، هبني لابتداء كرمك وصالح برك بي، يا إلهي وسيدي وربي، أتراك موذبي بنارك بعد توحيدك، وبعد ما انطوى عليه قلبي من معرفتك، ولهج به لساني من ذكرك، واعتقده ضميري من حبك، وبعد صدق اعترافي ودعائي، خاض لربوبيتك هيهات، أنت أكرم من أن تضيع من ربيته، أو تبعد من أدنيته، أو تشرد من آويته، أو تسلم إلى البلاء من كفيته ورحمته. وليت شعري يا سيدي وإلهي ومولاي، أتسلط النار على وجوه خرت لعظمتك ساجدة، وعلى ألسن نطقت بتوحيدك الصادقة وبشكرك مادها، وعلى قلوب اعترفت بإلهيتك محققة، وعلى ضمائر هوت من العلم بك حتى صارت خاشعة، وعلى جوارها صعدت إلى أوطان تعبدك طايا، وأشارت باستغفارك مضنيا، ما هكذا بك، ولا أخبرنا بفضلك عنك يا كريم. يا ربي وأنت تعلم ضعفي عن قليل من بلاء الدنيا وعقوباتها، وما يجري فيها من المكاره على أهلها، ألا أن ذلك بلاء مكروه قليل مكسور، يسير بكاء كثير مدته، فكيف احتمالي لبلاء الآخرة وجليل وقوع المكاره فيها، وهو بلاء تطول مدته ويدوم مقامه ولا يخفف عن أهله، لأنه لا يكون إلا عن غضبك وانتقامك وسخطك، وهذا ما لا تقوم له السماوات والأرض. يا سيدي فكيف لي وأنا عبدك الضعيف الذليل الحقير المسكين المستقيم. يا إلهي وربي وسيدي ومولاي، لأي الأمور إليك أشكو، ولما منها أزج وأبكي، لأليم العذاب وشدته أم لطول البلاء ومدته؟ فلئن سيرتني في العقوبات مع أعدائك وجمعت بيني وبين أهل بلائك وفرقت بيني وبين أحبائك وأوليائك فهبني يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي وربي. صبرت على عذابك فكيف أصبر على فراقك؟ وهبني صبرت على حر نارك فكيف أصبر عن النظر إلى كرامتك؟ أم كيف أسكن في النار ورجائي أفوك فبعزتك يا سيدي ومولاي أقسم صادقا لن تركتني ناتك لا زجن عليك بين أهلها زجيج العاملين ولا أصرخن عليك صراخ المستصرخين ولا أبكين عليك بكاء الفاقدين ولو نادينك أين كنت يا ولي المؤمنين يا غاية أعمال العارفين يا غياث المستغيثين يا غياث المستغيثين يا غياث المستغيثين يا حبيب قلوب الصادقين ويا إله العالمين أفتراك سبحانك يا إلهي وبحمدك تسمع فيها صوت عبد مسلم سجن فيها بمخالفته وذاق طعم عذابها بمعصيته وحبس بين أطباقها بجرمه وجريرته وهو يزج عليك زجيج معمل رحمتك ويناديك باللسان أهل توحيدك ويتوسل عليك بربوبيتك يا مولاي. فكيف يبقى في العذاب وهو يرجو ما سلف من علمك ورأفتك ورحمتك؟ أم كيف تولمه النار وهو يعمل فضلك ورحمتك؟ أم كيف يهركه لهيبها وأنت تسمع صوتها وترى مكانها؟ أم كيف يشتمل عليه زفيرها وأنت تعلم ضعفه؟ أم كيف يتكلكل بين أطباقها وأنت تعلم صدقه؟ أم كيف تصجره زبانيته ويناديك يا رب؟ أم كيف يرجو فضلك في إتقه منها فتتركه فيها هيهات؟ مع ذلك الظن بك ولا المعروف من فضلك ولا مشبه لما عملت بالمواهدين من برك وإحسانك. فباليقين يقطع لولا ما حكمت به من تعذيب جاهديك وقضيت به من إخلاد موانديك لجلت النار كلها بردا وسلاما وما كان لأحد فيها مكرا ولا مقاما لكنك تقدست أسماؤك أقسمت أن تملها من الكافرين من الجنة والناس أجمعين وأن تخلد في المعاندين وأن تجل ثناء قلت مبتدئا وتطولت بالإنعام متكرما أفمن كان مؤمنا كمن كان فاسقا لا يستوون. إلهي وسيدي فأسألك بالقدرة التي قدرتها وبالقضية التي هتمتها وحكمتها وغلبت من علي أجريت أن طاب لي في هذه الليلة وفي هذه الساعة كل جرم أجرمته وكل جرم أجرمته وكل ذنب أذنبته وكل قبيح أسررته وكل جهل عملته كتمته أو أعلنته أخفيته أو أظهرته وكل سيئة أمرت بأصباته الكرام الكاتبين الذين وكلتهم بحفظ ما يكون مني وجعلتهم شهودا علي مع جواره وكنت أنت رقيب علي من ورائهم وشاهد لما خفي عنهم وبرحمتك أخفيت بفضلك سترت وأن توفر حظي من كل خير أنزلت أو إحسان فضلت أو بر نشرت أو رزق بسطت أو ذنب تغفره أو خطأ تستره يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب إلهي وسيدي ومولاي ومالك ركي يا من بيده ناصيتي يا عليما بذري ومسكنتي يا خبيرا بفقري وفاقتي يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب أسألك بحقك وقدسك وعظم صفاتك وأسمائك أن تجعل أوقاتي في الليل والنهار بذكرك مأمورا وبخدمتك موصولة وأعمالي عندك مقبولة حتى تكون أعمالي وأورادي كلها وردا واحدا وحالي في خدمتك سرمدا يا سيدي يا من علي معولي يا من علي شقوت أحوالي يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب قوي على خدمتك جواره واجدد العزيمة جوانه وهب لي الجد في خشيتك والدوام في الاتصال بخدمتك حتى يسرها عليك في ميعاد السابقين وأسرع عليك في المبادرين واشتاق إلى قربك في المشتاقين وأدنو منك دنو المخلصين وأخافك مخافة الموقنين واجتمع في جوارك مع المؤمنين اللهم ومن أرادني بسوء فارده ومن كادني فكده واجعلني من أحسن عبيدك نصيبا عندك وأقربهم منزلة منك أخصهم زلفة لديك فإنه لا ينال ذلك إلا بفضلك وجود لي بجودك واتف علي بمجدك واحفظني برحمتك واجعل لساني بذكرك لهجا وقلبي بحبك متيما ومن علي بحسن إجابتك وقلني أسرتي واغفر لي زلتي فإنك قضيت على عبادك بعبادتك وأمرتهم بدعائك وضمنت لهم الإجابة فعليك يا رب نصبت وجهي وعليك يا رب مددت يدي وبعزتك استجب لي دعائي وبلغني منايا ولا تقت من فضلك رجائي واكفني شر الجن والإنس من أعدائي يا سري الرضا يا سري الرضا يا سري الرضا اغفر لمن لا يملك إلا دعاء فإنك فعال لما تشاء يا من اسمه دواء وذكره شفاء وتعدو إن ارحم الرأس عليه الرجاء وسلاه البكاء يا سابق النعم يا دافع النكام يا نور المستبشرين في الظلم يا لمن لا يعلم صل على محمد وآل محمد وفل بما أنت أهله ولا تفل بما نحن أهله وصلى الله على رسوله والأئمة الميامين من آله وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم بحق محمد أنت المحمود، اللهم بحق علي أنت الأعلى، اللهم بحق فاطمة الزهراء أنت فاطر السماوات والأرض، اللهم بحق الحسن أنت المحسن، اللهم بحق الحسين أنت قديم الإحسان. يا قاضي الحاجات اقضي حاجات المؤمنين والمؤمنات، يا شافي الأمراض اشف مرضانا المؤمنين والمؤمنات، يا رازق زيادة في الرزق، بركة في الرزق، صحة في الجسم، توبة قبل الموت، مغفرة بعد الموت، نجاة من النار، دخول في الجنة، عافية في الدنيا والآخرة، إنك على كل شيء قدير. اللهم انصر المؤمنين والمسلمين على الكافرين واليهود والنصارى. اللهم بحق محمد وآل محمد واغفر لنا وارحمنا، أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. رحم الله من قرأ الفاتحة إلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات، خصوصا sponsor of the tonight. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن
مائک کھل گیا؟ بر محمد و آل محمد صلوات. تمام لوگوں کو امام نقی علیہ السلام کی یوم ولادت مبارک ہو. جناب رضوی صاحب کا کلام پیش خدمت ہے. 10ویں رجب کو عرش سے آنے لگی صدا، 10ویں رجب کو عرش سے آنے لگی صدا، ایک اور آ رہا ہے زمانے میں مصطفیٰ، ایک اور آ رہا ہے زمانے میں مصطفیٰ. بیٹے کو لے کے ہاتھوں پہ فرماتے تھے رضا، بیٹے کو لے کے ہاتھوں پہ فرماتے تھے رضا. گلشن میں بوت راب کے غنچہ نیا کھلا، گلشن میں بوت راب کے غنچہ نیا کھلا. روشن جہاں روشن جہان نور امام تقی سے ہے، روشن جہان نور امام تقی سے ہے. مسرور سارا عالم امکان خوشی سے ہے، مسرور سارا عالم امکان خوشی سے ہے. سر کو جھکا کے تقوی کے در پر وہ دی صدا، سر کو جھکا کے تقوی نے در پر دی صدا. اس گھر کے متعین کے دامن میں بنا پلا، اس گھر کے متعین کے دامن میں بنا پلا. مجھ کو شرف نبی کے گھرانے سے ہے ملا، مجھ کو شرف نبی کے گھرانے سے ہے ملا. 10ویں رجب کو سر میرا اس در پہ جھک گیا، 10ویں رجب کو سر میرا اس در پہ جھک گیا. تازہ چمک سی آ گئی ہے آفتاب میں، تازہ چمک سی آ گئی ہے آفتاب میں. تشریف لا رہے ہیں تقی نور حجاب میں، تشریف لا رہے ہیں تقی نوری حجاب میں. محفل تقی امام کے ہم نے سجائی ہے، حوروں نے مل کے نور کی چادر لگائی ہے. کونین سے جبرائیل کی آواز آئی ہے، ہم نے خوشی پہ عرش پہ مل کر منائی ہے. خوش میں بہت امام رضا آ گئے تقی، ان کی خوشی میں آج ہمیں بھی خوشی ملی. دل جھومتا ہے سوچ کے منظر میں دل نشیں، دل جھومتا ہے سوچ کے منظر میں دل نشیں. مولا کے آتے ساتھ ہی سجدے میں تھی جبیں، نور امام پاک سے روشن ہوئی زمین. ہاں نے حسین بیٹے کی بڑھ کر بلائیں لی، ماں نے حسین بیٹے کی بڑھ کر بلائیں لی. نسل رسول پاک کی پہچان بن گئے، مولا تقی الدین کے سلطان بن گئے. مولا رضا کی جان میں مومن کے دل کی جان، مولا رضا کی جان میں مومن کے دل کی جان. وارث ہیں یہ حسین کے اور دین کی ہے شان، جن سے ملک متی ہیں طاعت میں کل جہاں. محفل میں آج گونجا ہے رضوان کا بیان، مولا تقی کی آج جو خوشی منائے گا، اپنی لحد سے سیدھا وہ جنت میں جائے گا. صلوات.
درود پڑھنے سب مل کے بآواز بلند اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرج. اگر کی محبت امام نقی سے، اگر کی محبت امام نقی سے، سمجھ لے کہ تو مل گیا زندگی سے. اگر کی محبت امام نقی سے، نہیں پھر کسی زر کی تجھ کو ضرورت، نہیں پھر کسی زر کی تجھ کو ضرورت. کبھی مانگ کر دیکھ ابن علی سے، جہنم ہے واجب ہر اس لعنتی پر، جہنم ہے واجب ہر اس لعنتی پر، جسے ہے عداوت امام نقی سے، جسے ہے عداوت امام نقی سے. اندھیری گلی میں سقیفہ تمہارا، اندھیری گلی میں سقیفہ تمہارا، ہمارا تعلق ہے روشن گلی سے. در خلد پر بولے ماتم کے تمغے، در خلد پر بولے ماتم کے تمغے، نہ بولا نہ پوچھا گیا ماتمی سے. گھٹائے جو مولا علی کے فضائل، گھٹائے جو مولا علی کے فضائل، عداوت رکھو تم ہر اس مولوی سے، عداوت رکھو تم ہر اس مولوی سے. اگر کی محبت امام نقی سے. درود پڑھنے میں آواز بلند اللہم صلی علی محمد. آئیے بسم اللہ. میں چاہ رہا نہیں ادھر آ جائے اوپر سے وہ اچھا یہاں ٹھیک. بس یہاں ٹھیک.
اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرج. ایک دفعہ پھر درود. امام کی ولادت اب سب کو مبارک ہو. اے خدا تجھ کو ہی زیبا ہے بڑائی تیری، اے خدا تجھ کو ہی زیبا ہے بڑائی تیری. بے نیازی تو کسی نے تیری، جاگنے والے کو محروم دو عالم رکھا، سونے والے سے کہا ساری خدائی تیری، اے خدا تجھ کو ہی صلوات۔ عباس کے پرچم کی ہوا مانگ رہے ہیں، عباس کے پرچم کی ہوا مانگ رہے ہیں، بیمار شجر کب سے دعا مانگ رہے ہیں، پردیس سے چلے آئیے اے وارث حیدر، ہم روز مصلی پہ دعا مانگ رہے ہیں، جہاں میں جیسے کوئی مثل حیدر ہو نہیں سکتا، میرے غازی سا دنیا میں برادر ہو نہیں سکتا، وفا جس کے در اقدس پہ سجدہ ریز ہو ہر پل، وفا جس کے در اقدس پہ سجدہ ریز ہو ہر پل، میں اس کو با وفا لکھ کر تو کمتر ہو نہیں سکتا، میرے غازی سا دنیا میں برادر ہو نہیں سکتا، زمانے نے بہت ڈھونڈا بہت جانچا بہت پرکھا، زمانے نے بہت ڈھونڈا بہت جانچا بہت پرکھا، علمدار حسینی سا دلاور ہو نہیں سکتا، حسینی فوج کا ہر ایک سپاہی ایک لشکر ہے، حسینی فوج کا ہر ایک سپاہی ایک لشکر ہے، کوئی لشکر 72 کے برابر ہو نہیں سکتا، میرے غازی سا دنیا میں برادر ہو نہیں سکتا، شرافت خون آنکھیں خود چھلکتی ہیں، شرافت خون میں گر ہو تو آنکھیں خود چھلکتی ہیں، غم کرب و بلا سب کا مقدر ہو نہیں سکتا، میرے غازی سا دنیا میں برادر ہو نہیں سکتا، علم عباس کا تھا میں مجھے آنسو بہانے دو، علم عباس کا تھا میں مجھے آنسو بہانے دو، خطاؤں کا تدارک اس سے بہتر ہو نہیں سکتا، میرے غازی سا دنیا میں برادر ہو نہیں سکتا۔ صلوات۔
میں بڑا شکر گزار ہوں، ریاض بھائی نے کیلنڈر بنا دیا رمضان کا اور ہم نے اس پہ ورکنگ شروع کر دی ہے، تو آپ حضرات سے التماس ہے کہ رمضان بالکل اراؤنڈ دا کارنر ہے، سب اس میں بھرپور حصہ کریں، اور میں کاشف بھائی کا بہت شکر گزار ہوں، آپ تشریف لائے اور آپ انشاءاللہ اگلے ویک میں ہمارا پروگرام ہے اس میں بھی تشریف لائیے گا، اور نواب صاحب تو بہت تشریف لائیں، آپ کی آمد کا بہت شکر گزار ہیں، اور میں آپ سے التماس کرتا ہوں جن بچوں نے ہمارے کمیٹی نے یہ ڈیکوریٹ کیا ہے لیڈیز میں اور یہاں پر، ان کے لیے ان کی صحت و سلامتی کے لیے بلند تر صلوات، اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل محمد۔ جی
محمد وآل محمد صلوات، اللہم صلی علی محمد۔ آپ سب کو مولا امام علی نقی کی ولادت سعادت مبارک ہو، اور اسی مناسبت سے بس ایک قطع ہے پھر منقبت۔ اندھیرے دور ہوئے روشنی کی آمد ہے، اندھیرے دور ہوئے روشنی کی آمد ہے، ولا کے کعبے میں پھر سے علی کی آمد ہے، ولا کے کعبے میں پھر سے علی کی آمد ہے، لرز لرز گئی یہ سن کے فوج باطل کی، لرز لرز گئی یہ سن کے فوج باطل کی، جہاں میں آج امام نقی کی آمد ہے، جہاں میں آج امام نقی کی آمد ہے، اندھیرے دور ہوئے روشنی کی آمد ہے، صلوات۔ فلک سے آج زمیں پر نقی کی آمد ہے، فلک سے آج زمیں پر نقی کی آمد ہے، قسم خدا کی، قسم خدا کی، خدا کے ولی کی آمد ہے، فلک سے آج امام، فلک سے آج زمیں پر نقی کی آمد ہے، نقی کے چہرے پہ روشن ہے نور احمد کا، یہ جانشین بھی ہے وارث بھی ہے محمد کا، تقی کے گھر میں، تقی کے گھر میں یہ نور نبی کی آمد ہے، فلک سے آج زمیں پر نقی کی آمد ہے، نبی کا علم طبیعت میں رب کی رحمت ہے، نبی کا علم طبیعت میں رب کی رحمت ہے جس کا نام علی اور علی سی ہیبت ہے، دیکھو دنیا میں، دیکھو دنیا میں آج پھر علی کی آمد ہے، فلک سے آج زمیں پر نقی کی آمد ہے، دیا خدا جو جلائے وہ بجھ نہیں سکتا، دیا خدا جو جلائے وہ بجھ نہیں سکتا، یہ ہدایت کا سلسلہ بھی رک نہیں سکتا، کہو اندھیروں سے، کہو اندھیروں سے یہ روشنی کی آمد ہے، کہو اندھیروں سے یہ روشنی کی آمد ہے، فلک سے آج زمیں پر نقی کی آمد ہے، نقی کے سامنے ایک روز شیر آئے تھے، خاص وقت ہے، خاص شیر منقبت، نقی کے سامنے ایک روز شیر آئے تھے، وہ ایک دوجے سے اپنی زبان میں کہتے تھے، وہ ایک دوجے سے اپنی زبان میں کہتے تھے، دیکھ لو سامنے، دیکھ لو سامنے شیر جلی کی آمد ہے، فلک سے آج زمیں پر نقی کی آمد ہے، آخری ختم، وحید اور حسن آج قصیدہ پڑھ لو، وحید اور حسن آج قصیدہ پڑھ لو، گھروں میں اہتمام آج جشن کا کر لو، کہو کہ آج، کہو کہ آج، کہو کہ آج اپنے لیے یہ خوشی کی آمد ہے، فلک سے آج زمیں پر نقی کی آمد ہے، قسم خدا کی، قسم خدا کے ولی کی آمد ہے، فلک سے آج زمیں پر نقی کی آمد ہے، سلام۔
صلی علی محمد وآل محمد۔ اعوذ باللہ من الشیطان الرجیم، بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم، الحمد للہ الذی لا یبلغ مدحتہ القائلون ولا يوسينا معه العدون ولا يؤدي حقه المجتهدون الذي لا يدركه بهد الهمم ولا يناله غوث الفتن الذي ليس لصفته حد محدود ولا نعت موجود ولا وقت محدود ولا أجل ممدود فطر الخلائق بقدرته ونشر الرياح برحمته ووتد بالصخور ميدان ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وحبيبنا وحبيب رب العالمين بالقاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين واللعن على أعدائهم أجمعين من أول يوم ظلمهم إلى قيام يوم الدين أما بعد فقال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه المبين وقوله الحق بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ولو أن ما في الأرض من شجرة أقلام والبحر يمده من بعده سبعة أبحر ما نفدت كلمات الله إن الله عزيز حكيم صدق الله العلي العظيم. Dear brothers and sisters, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As we're all aware, today is the zuhur of the 10th Imam. As we're all aware, today was the zuhur of that 10th Ali, and today was also the zuhur of Hazrat Ali al-Asghar. There are narrations that say that Hazrat Ali al-Asghar, he was born the 6th of Rajab. It's amazing how both of these individuals are born on the same day in the same month. Why? Because if you look at the Ahlul Bayt, if you look at this day is a very joyous occasion for the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. Why do I say this? Because at the age of 6 months, Hazrat Ali Asghar brought a revolution to Islam. At the age of 6 months. And when it comes to this Imam of ours, at the age of 6 years, he brought a revolution within Islam. Both of these individuals, at a very young age, what did they do? They made the tyrants so scared that they had to martyr Ali al-Asghar in Karbala, and they had to martyr the 10th Imam. Where's the 10th Imam buried? Samara, thank you so much. They had to martyr the 10th Imam. What were they afraid of? What were they afraid of? The Zulfiqar that both of these individuals used was not a sword. That Zulfiqar that both of these individuals were using was the tongue. It was this tongue that allowed Hazrat Ali Asghar to bring about a revolution in Karbala. And it was this tongue that was going to bring about a revolution in Medina when it came to the 10th Imam. And it was because of this tongue and how this tongue was used. Based on both of their age, you see what? You see that they did everything that they possibly could for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hazrat Ali Asghar, he could not speak. But the only thing that he could do at that young age was move his tongue. He moved his tongue. The 10th Imam, he was tested about his imamat at the age of 6. From the age of 6 to the time that the 10th Imam, he passed away. What was happening to the Imam? After the 8th Imam, the 9th Imam, the 10th Imam, the 11th Imam, all three of these Imams were under surveillance by who? Banu Abbas. All three of these Imams were under basically house arrest by Banu Abbas. Why were they under house arrest? Because now, this narration of the Holy Prophet, where the Holy Prophet says that the Mahdi is the 12th of my 12 Naibeen. The Mahdi is going to be the 12th, and when he rises, what will happen? There will come a revolution within Islam, and when this revolution happens, every king that was there, every Khalifa that was there, he would cease to exist, and the rightful Khalifa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would be at the center, would be at the core of Islam. And because of this, the Banu Abbas, they were completely afraid. Why? Now the 9th has come. Now the 10th has come. There's only 2 more left when it comes to the 10th Imam. There's only 2 more left, and then their hukumat is completely gone. It was because of this. What did the individuals do? They kept a close eye on these Imams, to the point where if there was a child born into their house, they'd want to know. They want to know. The same way for Hazrat Musa alayhi salam, when Fir'aun, he wanted to know, when he was told that there was going to be a child that was going to be born and he's going to completely destroy your government, he's going to destroy everything that you've worked so hard for, what did Fir'aun do? He had spies set up and he asked them to let him know, let his soldiers know if there was a male born in Banu Israel. And whenever there was a male born, what would happen? He would be killed. The same way, Banu Abbas, they did the same thing to these imams. They put them under house arrest. If there was a child born, they'd want to know that there was a child born. This is what happened with the 12th imam. This is the reason the 12th imam had to go into occultation. Why? Because his own uncle was working with the government. His own uncle. When it comes to this 10th imam of ours, it's amazing that he lived so long ago, but he still affects our life today. And this is the case with all the imams. How does he affect our life today? If you all remember, about 10 years ago now, 10 years ago, 11 years ago, there was a bomb blast that happened in Samara. 12 years ago maybe? 2009, 2010, something around there? Around that time. 2009, 2010. Bomb blast. Where? Samara. Why? Was it because we Shias go over there? No. Or is it because the Shias that go there, they actually receive something from those individuals and those people were afraid? You see this even today. We go to Karbala, why? We go to Najaf, why? We go to Kazmain, why? If we go to Medina, we go to Medina, why? Why do we go to these places? Because we know that these individuals that came from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, just as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is alive, these individuals are also alive. And they give when you ask them. I'm not saying that their life and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's life is one and exactly the same. No, I'm not saying that. But they're also alive. And what do? We go there, we ask them. We ask for what? One, we ask for forgiveness for the sins that we've committed. Two, we ask for our hajat, we ask for our needs. Isn't that what we do? Why do we do it if these people do not give? Why do we do it? Two, why does it matter to them? Why does it hurt them so much that we go ask these individuals for our needs? Why does it hurt them? I don't have a problem. They don't have a problem asking their parents. They don't have a problem asking their friends. They don't have a problem asking their relatives for something that they want, something that they need. But they have a problem with me asking from my master about something that I want. What are they afraid of? They're afraid of these individuals. It's been 1,000 years. It's been 1,200 years. It's been 1,400 years. Just the same way that these people were afraid of those individuals 1,400 years ago, these same people are still afraid of these individuals even though they're not appearing in front of us today. They're afraid of them. Why? Because they can still give. The people that we believe in, they give. The people that they believe in, nothing. Have you heard about anyone going to Medina and asking those two that are buried next to the Prophet for something and they've received it? You hear so many times about people that go to Medina, they've asked the Holy Prophet for something, they've gotten it. You hear about in Karbala, they've asked about Abdullah Hussain alayhi salam, they've gotten it. You ask and they say that we've gone to Abul Fazl Abbas, they've gotten something. All of these individuals, the people that we believe in, they've given us. How come the people that you believe in, they don't give anything? That tells you what? That tells you what truly those two individuals, those people that you believe in are actually dead. That's why they can't do anything. But the individuals that we believe in, the fact that they can give us tells me that they're still alive. That's why they can give me something. That's why they can give me something. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. But the sad part about the 10th Imam, not just the 10th Imam, the 9th Imam, the 10th Imam, the 11th Imam. Many of the Shias themselves, they don't know much about these individuals. Many of the Shias, they don't know much about these individuals. I told you all, how old, let's see how many of you were paying attention. How old was the Imam, the 10th Imam? when he shouldered the burden of imamat. How old? I just said it in the beginning of my lecture. 10 years old? 11? 6? 6 years old. 6 years old. In a group of about 30, 40 people, alhamdulillah, 5 people were paying attention. 5 people were paying, mashallah. 6 years old. At the age of 6, he shouldered the burden of imamat. The youngest of the imams. He was the youngest individual who shouldered imamat. Correct? Who held imamat the longest? Who? 12th Imam, thank you so much. The 12th Imam has held imamat the longest. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. These are questions for the kids, but mashallah, come on. But the 12th Imam has held imamat the longest. Correct? When it comes to these individuals, when you look at the life of the 10th Imam, you see that there were some questions that were posed to this Imam. Just the same way there were questions posed to the 9th Imam, there were questions posed to the 10th Imam. Some of these questions, a lot of these questions were regarding the 12th Imam. Why? Because after the 8th Imam, you had a group of Muslims that stopped at the 8th Imam, thinking that the 8th Imam was the last one. They were known as the Waqifiyats. And today they don't exist anymore, but at that time they existed. They stopped at the 8th Imam, thinking that he was the last Imam, thinking that he was Imam Zaman, thinking that he was the Mahdi. Correct? When the 9th Imam came, there were people that didn't believe in his imamat. Why didn't they believe in his imamat? Because they couldn't fathom the idea that a 6-year-old burdened imamat. They couldn't fathom that idea that this is a 6-year-old is my imam. When they asked him, at the age of 8, how can you be the imam? When they asked him at the age of 6, how can you be imam? He goes, what's the big deal? They both said, what's the big deal? If Hazrat Isa alayhi salam can be a prophet as soon as he comes out from the womb of his mother at the age of 2 hours old, why can't I be an imam at the age of 6? Why can't I be an imam at the age of 8? If a prophet can claim to be prophet at the age of 2 hours, why can't I claim to be an imam at the age of 6? Why can't I claim to be imam at the age of 8? What is the criteria that you have that will prove that I'm an imam? Or what is the criteria that you have? What is the criteria for an imam? One is isma. 2 is miracles. 3 is knowledge. These are the 3 main criteria that will tell you that this individual is imam. But when it comes to isma, when it comes to masumiyat, can you and I know that? Is that something that is apparent? No, masumiyat is not something that is apparent. But what is apparent? Knowledge is apparent. Miracles are apparent. So when these individuals would go in front of these imams and they ask them, your father used to be able to do this, what can you do? Can you do the same thing? They do the same thing. They do the same thing. They came to the 9th Imam, sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. They came to the 9th Imam, they're asking the Imam, what proof do you have for imamat? The Imam, he asked him, what proof do you want for my imamat? What proof do you want for my imamat? Can you perform miracles like your father did? Imam, he performs miracles like his father did. It was in the time of the 9th Imam, where there was a lady who claimed to be Zainab bint Ali. She claimed to be Zainab bint Ali, and she comes and she tells everyone that I'm that Zainab. They call the Imam, and the Imam, he says, if she's truly that Zainab, send her into the den of the lions. Why? Because these lions, they will never touch the daughters of Amir al-Mu'mineen. They will never touch the sons of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Send her into the den. When the Imam, he suggests this, the Khalifa of that time, he says, okay, but before he sends her in, she says that he claims to be the son of an Imam. He also claims to be the offspring of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Why don't you send him in first? Let's see if he truly is. Imam, he says, no problem. I'll go in myself. He goes in. There were two lions that were there. There was an old lion and a young lion. Imam, as soon as he goes in, the old lion, he comes to the Imam. Imam, he puts his ears towards the mouth of the lion, and the lion, it speaks to the Imam, and it complains to the Imam. The Imam, he hears the lion, he comes out. He comes out. When he comes out, he tells the Khalifa, now send her in. When the Khalifa wants to throw her into the den, she says, no, I swear to God, I'm not that Zainab. I'm not that Zainab. The Khalifa asked, Yabna Rasulullah, what did that, you put your ear next to the lion, what did the lion say? The Imam, he says, that lion was complaining. He goes, what was he complaining about? Look at the way they tested the Imam. What was that lion complaining about? He says the lion was complaining, saying that I'm old now. That young lion, every time food is brought, that young lion goes, eats everything up, and I'm left with basically nothing. I'm left with nothing. Correct? And what did you say? What did you say, Yabna Rasulullah? I told that young lion, do not go near the food until this elder lion finishes. Now look at the way the Khalifa of the time, the enemies of the Ahlul Bayt, are testing to see if the Imam is truthful or not. What do? They send in food. When they send in meat, the younger lion stays where it is. The older lion, it goes, eats as much as it wants, and then it comes back. When it comes back, then the younger lion goes to eat. The younger lion. The amazing part isn't that. The amazing part is that this human being is supposed to be the greatest creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When an animal adheres to the commands of his Imam, an animal adheres to the command of his Imam, yet this human being does not adhere to the Imam's commands. What does it tell you about this human being? Worse than animals. Worse than when you do not adhere to the command of the Imam of your time, you yourself, you admit that you're worse than an animal. And you see what? In the time of Amir al-Mu'mineen, in the time of the Holy Prophet, in the time of Abu Abdullah al-Hussain alayhi salam, there was a reason in the time of Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Imam Zain al-Abidin is doing Hajj. One of his companions, he said, Yabna Rasulullah, there's so many Hajis. Imam, he looks at him, he goes, you think all these people are Hajis? He goes, Yabna Rasulullah, all these people, they're saying Labbaik. What does the Imam do? The Imam, he just takes his hand, he puts it over his eyes. When he puts it over his companion's eyes, the companion's eyes, they finally open up. What does he see? He sees a bunch of monkeys going around the Kaaba. He sees a bunch of pigs going around the Kaaba. He sees a bunch of coyotes, wolves going around the Kaaba. He goes, Yabna Rasulullah, what is this? These are the Muslims that you claim, these are the people that you claim were Muslims. The majority of those people are what? Animals. Why? Because of the amal. What is the greatest amal that an individual can do in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? To follow the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is the greatest amal. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's ultimate command are the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. If you follow the commands of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, then you follow the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And these individuals, they did not adhere to the Ahlul Bayt. That's why they were in that form. The amal that they were doing, it caused them to be in that form. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. When it comes to this Imam, at the age, like I said, at the age of 6, he takes on Imamat. How old was the Imam when he passed away? How old? Imam was 42? Yes. Imam Ali al-Naqi, the 10th Imam. How old was he? He was in his 20s. When it comes to the 10th Imam, when it comes to the 11th Imam, they did not live to be 40, 50, 60 years old. They were martyred at a very young age. They were martyred at a very young age. They inherited imamat at a young age. They were martyred at a very young age. These are the two imams that were martyred, three imams, I should say, 9, 10, 11. They were martyred at young ages, correct? In the life of the 10th Imam. The 10th Imam, how many sons did he have? This is going to be now a question answer. Now, this 30 years now, 30, 35 years now, my father's been doing lectures. The Imam, the 10th Imam, one of the sons of Imam, thank you so much. No, he had more than one. Sayyid Muhammad is the other son of the 10th Imam. Sayyid Muhammad, I'm sure a lot of you have gone to Ziyarat of Karbala, Ziyarat of Iraq. Sayyid Muhammad is one of those individuals that not just Shias but Sunnis themselves, they go and they ask for their dua, they ask for their hajat from Sayyid Muhammad. What was it about Sayyid Muhammad, that brother of Imam Hassan Askari? When Sayyid Muhammad passed away, the narrations, they say that when Imam Hassan Askari heard that his brother said Muhammad had passed away, what does he do? He rips off his shirt and he starts to do matam. Sayyid Muhammad. People thought that after the 10th Imam, Sayyid Muhammad was to be the Imam. That's how pious this person was. They actually thought that after the 10th Imam, Sayyid Muhammad was to be the Imam. But Sayyid Muhammad, he passed away in the lifetime of the 10th Imam. He had another brother. Who? Thank you so much. Sayyid Muhammad, Imam Hassan Askari, and Jafar Kazab. All three of these were brothers. In one family, you have an Imam, correct? In one family, you have individuals that are pious, and in that same family, you have individuals that are impious. In one family. Don't think everyone in the family is going to be pious. If that was true, then both the sons of Hazrat Adam should have been pious. He only had two sons. When it came, he had more sons, yes, but of those two, one ended up killing the other. If in prophethood there can be pious individuals, in the home of a prophet there can be pious individuals, there can also be impious individuals. When it comes to the narrations they state that when it came to the birth of Jafar Kazab, the 10th Imam, he wasn't happy. He wasn't happy. Why? Because Imam knew exactly what he was going to do. He was going to claim imamat. Even now we have some ulama that say, no, some of these narrations, they've been exaggerated about Jafar Kazab. They've been exaggerated, but that's a debate of its own. These individuals, the 9th Imam, the 10th Imam, the 11th Imam, the miracles that they had to perform to prove their imamat. Why? Because there were Shias that denied their imamat. There were Shias that were rejecting their imamat. There were Shias that did not believe in their imamat. And the only way for them was through miracles. That was it. Even though they could prove their imamat through knowledge. When the 9th Imam was debating, was that not enough? When the 10th Imam was debating, was that not enough? To the point where they say about the 10th Imam, they go and they complain to the Khalifa. And they say, we, the Sunnis that the Imams were debating with, they go and they complain to the Khalifa. They tell him that we're your servants. If you allow this 8-year-old, if you allow this 10-year-old, if you allow this 6-year-old to go and give out fatwas like this, to go and debate our scholars like this, and they embarrass our scholars, what will happen to your hukumat? what will happen to your reign? Think about that. This is who? The scholars of Islam. Who are they complaining about? The one who truly is a scholar of Islam. And you see today, like Amir al-Mu'mineen says, one of the three types of individuals that you should fear is an impious scholar. Is an impious scholar. Why? Because this scholar is going to use religion to corrupt you. And this is exactly what happened in the time of these imams. These scholars, what were they doing? The knowledge that they had, that knowledge was not directly from the holy imams, that was not directly from the holy prophet. That knowledge that they had was coming from here, there, and whatnot. And because the imam's knowledge is directly coming from the holy prophet, where he says, I heard from my father, who heard from his father, who heard from his father, all the way to the holy prophet, to Jibreel, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This was the chain of narrations that the imams were giving. Whereas the other scholars, they were giving what chains? We heard from Malik ibn Anas. Malik ibn Anas, Abu Huraira, Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Aisha. Where is this golden chain and where is this other chain? It's because they were giving this knowledge that they had from this other chain, they were afraid of what would happen to the government. They themselves, they say, look, to the government, they themselves, these scholars, they say to the Khalifas, they tell them, look, whatever narration, if you want us to make up narrations, we'll make up narrations for you. If you want us to do the tafsir of the Quran in a certain way, we'll do the tafsir of the Quran in a certain way. But if you have these individuals, if you keep these individuals alive, we won't be able to do what we can do for you. You won't have your hukumat anymore. Why? Because these individuals, they were going straight to the source. When they do tafsir of the Quran, they're going back to the Holy Prophet directly. When we can do tafsir of the Quran, we will go back to the Holy Prophet. But we'll go back to the Holy Prophet indirectly from this person and fulan. And if the people, if they hear these individuals saying, we heard from our fathers, from our father, from our grandfather, they're going to be inclined to hear what they have to say. Why? Because their knowledge is coming directly from the Holy Prophet. So that's why they tell them, you need to get rid of them. You need to get rid of them. And this is exactly what the Khalifas do. They got rid of the imams. Why? Because they were afraid of the knowledge that these individuals were going to give. Even today, if an individual wants their mind to be open, what do they have to seek? The only way for this human mind to open up is if this individual seeks knowledge. If this human being wants to get to the truth, the only way that they can get to the truth is through knowledge. That's the only way. As long as the imam of our time is in ghaibat, we're going to have to go to who? The scholars. And if these scholars are corrupt, then the knowledge that we're going to be given, there's a good chance that it will be corrupt. This is why Imam Zaman al-Islam, he writes that he puts a condition. He says, seek out the knowledge of the Ahlul Bayt. But seek it out from every individual who says they have knowledge of the Ahlul Bayt? No. Seek our narrations from those individuals who what? Who control their nafs, who adhere to our commands. This is what Imam Zaman wrote. This is the basis for marja'iyat. This is the basis for marja'iyat. Seek out our knowledge, seek out our narrations, not just from anyone. No, seek out our knowledge from those individuals that control their nafs, those individuals that are not worldly. Seek out our knowledge from those individuals that have given themselves up for us in our cause. Given themselves up. in the ziyarat, these individuals, in the ziyarat, for example, my father talked about it. The ziyarat that Imam Naqi A.S gave, Ziyarat Jame Kabira, correct? My father didn't get a chance to get that far. But in that ziyarat itself, the Imam, he says, Assalamu alaikum, may peace and blessings be upon you, from whom haqq is towards haqq, from haqq towards haqq to haqq, al-haqq. Al-haqq. There's a narration from the Holy Prophet who says that anyone that has seen me, anyone that sees me has certainly seen al-haqq. Al-haqq. Al-haqq is one of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Al-haqq is one of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Holy Prophet says what? Anyone that has seen me has certainly seen al-haqq. Imam, what does he say? Haqq is from you, haqq is to you, haqq is around you, haqq is inside you, haqq is everywhere. What is this haqq that the Imam is talking about? This is what I was asking my father. This alif wal lam that comes in front of al-haqq. What is this alif wal lam? This alif wal lam that comes, it can take different meanings. For example, when we say Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, what does it mean? All praise belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Correct? All praise. This alif wal lam that is coming in front of alhamd denotes all praise, all types of praise. Whatever type of praise that you can think of, it belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when the Imam, the 10th Imam, he says, Al-Haq, is this every type of truth that you can think of? Is this Al-Haq that? Or no, is this Alif wal Lam taqsis? Is this Alif wal Lam specific? Meaning no, there's a specific Haq that the Imam is talking about. If it's a specific haqq, then it's that haqq, the only and only true reality. That haqq. No, but if it's all truth, even then, that haqq comes into all truth. That haqq comes into all truth. This is the ziyarat that the 10th Imam gave, where he teaches us what? The ma'rifat of imamat. Where he teaches us what? The ma'rifat of the wilayat that these imams hold. Where he teaches us what? How to ask these imams, how to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala about your desires. You use these individuals to ask for what you want. What does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say? وَلَوْ إِنَّمَا فِي الْعَرْضِ مِنْ شَجَرَةٍ أَقْلَامٌ. If all the trees in this world, if all the trees in this universe, if all the trees in this world were aqlam, if they were all pens, وَالْبَحْرُ يَمُدُّ مِنْ بَعْدِهِ سَبَةٌ, and all the seas, they were turned into ink, and you added 7 more seas. And if you were to take these trees and write with this pen about the merits of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, you would never be able to fill the merits of the Ahlul Bayt. You would never be able to exhaust the merits of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. Why? If you could exhaust the merits of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you would be able to exhaust the merits of the Ahlul Bayt. But because you can't exhaust the merits of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you won't be able to exhaust the merits of the Ahlul Bayt. This is their greatness. When you see what the 12th Imam will do, the 12th Imam, when he rises and he has control, the knowledge that we will have at that time will be such knowledge we've never had before. What? Because the narrations themselves, they state that at the time of the rising of the Imam, the knowledge that they would have at that time would be based on 2 numbers, 2 letters. That's it. That's it. And if you see today, everything that we have today is based on what? 2 numbers, zeros and 1. That's it. Everything that we have today is based on those 2. That's a 0 and 1. But when the Imam comes, he's going to add numbers, he's going to add letters to that. When he adds more numbers, when he adds more letters, what's going to happen to the knowledge? It's definitely going to increase. If they were to allow these Imams to spread that knowledge back then, how far would Islam be today? How far would Islam be today? But they never allowed them. Why? Because they were afraid that this knowledge, with this knowledge, this individual was going to gravitate towards the Imam. Salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. One more time, please. Salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. When it comes to the 10th Imam, because he was very young, the Khalifas, to try and control him, they sent the 10th Imam to learn from one of their own Qadis. They sent the 10th Imam to learn from one of their own scholars. When the 10th Imam goes, the individual that they had as his teacher, he sits with the 10th Imam, and as soon as he asks the 10th Imam, do you know the Quran? He goes, the 10th Imam, he tells him, what chapter do you want me to recite? He goes, have you memorized it? He goes, yes. What chapter do you want me to recite? Surah Al-Baqarah, the longest chapter. Obviously, if you want to test imamat and see if they truly have knowledge of the Quran, this is what an individual would do. They'd find the longest chapter, they ask him to recite from there. He asked the Imam, recite from Surah Al-Baqarah. The Imam, he starts reciting from Surah Al-Baqarah. When he starts reciting from Surah Al-Baqarah, this happens one day. Then he gets tested over and over. A week later, the friends of this teacher, they come to him and they ask him, that servant of yours that we gave you, how is he? This man himself, he says that that individual is not a servant. I've become his servant. Why? Because there's nothing I can teach him, but he continues to teach me everything about the Quran. He himself, he says that, I kid you not, whenever he recites the Quran, the first thing I think about is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the voice of Hazrat Dawood alayhi salam and how beautiful it was. When this individual recites the Quran, he recites it in that form. I'm not the one teaching him, he's the one teaching me. Who is this? The teachers that the Khalifa of the time had appointed to teach the 10th Imam. This is these individuals, the knowledge that they possess. They possess enough knowledge where their enemies would turn into their friends. They possess enough knowledge where that individual who considered himself to be a teacher, 60 years old, 70, he spent his whole life learning about Islam. Yet when he comes in front of this 6-year-old, when he comes in front of this 8-year-old, he himself, he admits, I know absolutely nothing about Islam. I know nothing about Islam. This 6-year-old knows more about Islam than I do. This is what it means to be a leader of Islam. This is what it means to be a leader, imam of the Muslims. You have more knowledge about Islam than any Muslim that exists in your time. That's what it means to be an imam. That's what it means to truly be a Khalifa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To have more knowledge than any other individual. If you're going to represent Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you have to have the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you're going to represent Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you should be able to have that same type of power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you're going to represent Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you should also be masoom, in the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not commit any sins, in the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not commit any mistakes. Alaykum salam wa rahmatullah. This individual should also have these characteristics. It shouldn't be that anyone can come and claim to be the representative of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It shouldn't be that anyone can come and sit on the mimbar of Rasulullah. It shouldn't be that anyone can come and sit on the mimbar of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Why do I say this? Banu Abbas, they rose up. Why? We want to give the right back to Banu Fatima. We want to give the right back to Banu Hashim. This was the reason they rose up. But then in this rising, they took away the rights of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. Why? Because they considered themselves to be better. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Yahya bin who? I heard the. Thank you so much, Yahya bin Aqsam. Yahya bin Aqsam. Who was Yahya bin Aqsam? The Qazi. He was the Qazi. He was the scholar of the Banu Abbas in the time of the 9th Imam. He also was the Qazi, the scholar of Banu Abbas in the time of the 10th Imam. Correct? When in the time of the 9th Imam, he was the individual who went and asked Imam, the 9th Imam, about the questions about Hajj. The Imam stays silent. When he stays silent, he thought that he had trapped the Imam. But the Imam, he opens up all these branches for Hajj. That's when he becomes silent. Correct? This individual, that embarrassment wasn't enough. The fact that he was embarrassed by an 8-year-old wasn't enough. Now he wanted to come in front of a 6-year-old and embarrass himself even more. What does he do? He comes in front of the 10th Imam and asks the Imam questions also. The Imam, he embarrasses him even more. Embarrassing. How old is he? Over 60 years old. Over 60 years old. Gets embarrassed in front of a 6-year-old. When he gets embarrassed, he leaves. And it is this same individual who goes and he tells the Khalifa. His father was like this. If you allow him to do what his father did, then your government is going to go. These scholars, this is why Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says, be careful of some of these scholars. Why? Because they were the scholars of misguidance. They will misguide you. They'll put on the garb of taqwa. But in reality, that's a garb of misguidance. And this was the reason that some of them, a lot of the Imams, they told the Shias to stay away from the Sufis of that time. Why? Because the Sufis of that time, they did just like some Sufis today, where they leave outside the outer Islam, they just hold on to the inner Islam. No fasting, we don't need to fast. We don't need to pray. We don't need to do any of that as long as we do the zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now today, the Sufis, they have so many branches now, where now, even though the Holy Prophet had come and he says that I've come last to destroy some of these musical instruments, it's these same Sufis that are using these same musical instruments in their zikrs. Even though the Holy Prophet says dancing is not allowed, it's these same Sufis that are doing dances to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If an act was to bring you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Holy Prophet would have done it in his lifetime. He would have allowed it in his lifetime. The Imams would have done it in their lifetime. They would have allowed it in their lifetime. None of them did that. But today, mashallah, you have, like the Holy Prophet says, there will be 73 sects. Only one of them will truly be victorious at the end. And which sect is that? Which group is that? If you want to know which group that is, then all you have to do is recite Hadith Kisa, and you'll find out which group that is. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So Yahya bin Aqsam, he comes to the Imam, and he first goes to Mu'tasim. He goes, I want to ask some questions to this young man. And Mu'tasim, he goes, if you want to ask him questions, go ahead, ask him questions. But what kind of questions are you going to ask him? And Yahya, He says, I asked his father questions, and you saw what happened. I want to know if this person is truly the inheritor of the knowledge of his father. If this child is truly the inheritor of the knowledge of his father. So he goes and he asks, how old is the Imam? He's 6 years old. And what does he say to the Imam? He goes to the Imam. He says, Prophet Sulaiman, he says that who can bring me Bilqis's throne? And he says that Bilqis's throne was in one part of the world and Hazrat Sulaiman was in another part. And Hazrat Sulaiman, he says that I want it in front of me right now, this instance. So one of the jinns, this is in the Quran, where one of the jinns, Ifrit min al-jinn, he says that I will bring to you the throne of Bilqis before you stand up from your throne. That's when Asif ibn Barqiyah, he says, I will bring it to you before you can even blink. Before you can even blink. So Yahya, he asked him, didn't Sulaiman have that power? Couldn't Sulaiman do that himself? Why did he need to ask other individuals? He was himself a prophet. Could he not do that himself? The Imam, he goes, no, he could do that himself. But he wanted all the others to know who was to be his successor. He wanted the others to know who was truly going to be the prophet after him. Who was going to be the successor. That's why he told Asif to do it. That's why Asif ibn Barqiyah was able to do what he did. But even Asif, the Imam himself, he says that, look, Asif ibn Barqiyah, he had knowledge min al-kitab. He had knowledge, some knowledge of the book. We have knowledge of the complete book. If Asif can bring that throne in the blink of an eye because he had knowledge of some parts of the book, we have knowledge of the whole book. If we wanted to bring that throne, it would be quicker than the blink of an eye. It'd be quicker than the blink of an eye. And you see, when you read about narrations about how the Imams are able to go from one place to another. The ninth Imam, this was in the time of the ninth Imam, where he's not even Shia. And Shaykh Mutahari, he writes about this incident in his book. The individual is not even Shia. All he's doing is he's praying Ras al-Hussein. Where in Syria? In Damascus, when you go to the mosque, where Yazid Lamtullah, he kept the head of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, there's a place over there, and it's called Ras al-Hussein. And this individual, he's not even Shia. All he's doing is he was praying at that place for a whole year. When he was praying at that place for a whole year, all of a sudden he himself, he says that all of a sudden this man, he came to me and he tells me to get up. I get up. As soon as I get up, we take one step. Where are we? We're in Masjid al-Kufa. This man, he asked me, do you know where we are? He goes, yes, this is Masjid al-Kufa. We pray 2 rakat. When we're done, he says, get up. I get up, we take one step, and now where are we? We're in Medina. And he asked me, do you know where we are? He goes, yes, this is Medina. He prays 2 rakat, I pray 2 rakat. Yes, he says, get up. We get up, we take one step, now we're in Mecca. He asked me, do you know where we're at? He goes, how do I not know? This is Masjid al-Haram. We're in Mecca. They pray 2 rakat. The Imam himself, he says, get up. As soon as they get up, they take one step, and the man, he says that we're back in Sham, we're back in Syria. Before I could ask this individual who he was, he disappears from my sight. When he disappears, I didn't know what to do. The only thing I can think of was to pray where I was praying. This man, he continues to pray for another year. That same day, the Imam, he comes again. Everything happens again. The same incidents happen again. From Sham, they go where? They go to Kufa. From Kufa, they go to Medina. From Medina, they go to Makkah. From Makkah, they come back to Sham. Before the Imam leaves, this man, he holds on to the legs of the Imam. He goes, I want to ask you something. By the God that has given you that power, who are you? Are you a prophet? He goes, no, I'm not a prophet. I am the Imam of the Shi'as. I'm the Imam of the Shi'as. And then that's all he says. He leaves. When he leaves, this individual, he starts saying that I met this individual that is able to travel from one place to another, in quicker than the blink of an eye. When he says this, the government soldiers, they grab him, they throw him in jail. When they throw him in jail, they were going to give him the death penalty. When they were going to give him the death penalty, under what pretense? They claimed that he was claiming that there was another prophet that had come. When they gave this pretense, one of the people that was in the government of the Khalifa at that time, he goes and asks him, what is your story? These people claim that you're claiming that there's a prophet that has come. Is that true? He goes, no, I've never said that. I've never said that there's a prophet that's come. He goes, what is it? Tell me what the truth is so I have relations with the Khalifa. I'll send him a letter. He goes, I never claimed that there's a prophet that's come. All I said was there was an individual while I was praying. He took me to all these places. We prayed namaz, we prayed salat, and we came back. We came back. That's all I said. But the government, they threw me in jail claiming that I was claiming that there was another prophet that came. He goes, okay, I'll write. I'll write to the Khalifa. He writes to the Khalifa. When he writes to the Khalifa, he gets a reply back. When the reply that he gets back, he says, look, tell him to tell the individual who took him from Sham to Kufa to Medina to Mecca and brought him back to Sham, tell him to tell that individual to take him out of jail. Tell him. That individual, all he does, when he hears this, all he does is he asks that same individual, take me out of this place. All he does was just say, take me out of this place. The Imam, he takes him out of that place. When he takes him out of that place, now this individual, the Shia that has written that letter to the Khalifa, when he hears all this commotion, he goes, what's going on? That person who claimed to be a prophet, that claimed that there was a prophet, he's missing. He goes, what do you mean he's missing? He goes, we don't know where he's gone. The gates are all closed. The gates to the cells are all closed. We don't know where he went. That's when he understood what happened. That's when he knew that the Imam himself, he had come, taken this individual out. That person was not even a Shia. He wasn't even a Shia. What does this tell you? If you want the Imam of your time to help you, all you have to do is be muttaqi. If you want the Imam of your time to help you, pray on time. If you want the Imam of the time to help you, stay away from the sins that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Imams are not happy with. That's all that needs to be done. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive our sins. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to hasten the reappearance of Imam Zaman al-Islam. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive the sins of all of those marhumin, mu'mineen, mu'minat that do not have anyone to ask for forgiveness. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Please recite Surah Fatiha for your marhumin and for the marhumin whose names are on the wall in the back. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. اللهم اغفره وارحمه واسكنه من جوار محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد السلام عليك يا وارث آدم صفوة الله السلام عليك يا وارث نوح النبي الله السلام عليك يا وارث إبراهيم خليل الله السلام عليك يا وارث موسى كليم الله السلام عليك يا وارث عيسى روح الله. السلام عليك يا وارث محمد حبيب الله. السلام عليك يا وارث أمير المؤمنين عليه السلام. السلام عليك يا ابن محمد المصطفى. السلام عليك يا ابن علي المرتضى. السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء. السلام عليك يا ابن خديجة الكبرى. السلام عليك يا ثار الله وابن ثاره والوتر الموتور. وأشهد أنك قد قمت الصلاة وآتيت الزكاة وأمرت بالمعروف ونهيت عن المنكر وأطعت الله ورسوله حتى أتاك اليقين. فأنا اللهم قتلتك وأنا اللهم ظلمتك وأنا اللهم سمعت بذلك فرزيت به. يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله أشهد أنك كنت نور الفلسطاب الشامخة والأرحام المطهرة لم تنجسك الجاهلية بإنجاسها ولم تلبسك من مظلمات ثيابها. وأشهد أنك من دعم الدين وأركان المؤمنين. وأشهد أنك الإمام البر التقي الرزي الزكي الهادي المهدي. وأشهد أن الأئمة من ولدك كلمة التقوى وعلام الهدى والأروة الوثقى والحجة على أهل الدنيا. وأشهد الله ملائكته وأنبياءه ورسله أني بكم مؤمن بكم موقن بشرائع الدين وخواتيم عملي وقلبي لقلبكم سلم وأمري لأمركم متبع. صلوات الله عليكم وعلى أرواحكم وعلى أجسادكم وعلى أقبالكم وعلى شاهدكم وعلى غائبكم وعلى ظاهركم وعلى باطنكم. بأبي أنت وأمي يا ابن رسول الله. بأبي أنت وأمي يا أبا عبد الله. لقد عظمت الرزية وجلت المصيبة بك علينا وعلى جميع أهل السماوات والأرض. فأنا اللهم أسرجت والجمت وتهيأت لقتالك يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله. قصدت حرمك وأن بولا مشهدك وأسأل الله بالشأن الذي لك عنده وبالمحل الذي لك لديه أن يصلي على محمد وآل محمد وأن يجعلني معكم في الدنيا والآخرة. السلام عليك يا رسول الله. السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا صديقة فاطمة الزهراء سيدة النساء العالمين. السلام عليك يا مولانا يا حسن المجتبى. السلام عليك يا مولانا يا غريب الغرباء يا أبا عبد الله. السلام عليك يا مولانا يا علي بن الحسين. السلام عليك يا مولانا يا محمد بن علي. السلام عليك يا مولانا يا جعفر بن محمد. السلام عليك يا مولانا يا موسى بن جعفر. السلام عليك يا مولانا يا علي بن موسى. السلام عليك يا مولانا يا محمد بن علي. السلام عليك يا مولانا يا علي بن محمد. السلام عليك يا مولانا يا حسن بن علي. السلام عليك يا مولانا يا صاحب العصر الزمان. علمان 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 من الفتن الزمان. عجل الله تعالى فرجك وظهورك وجعلنا من أنصارك ورحمة الله وبركاته. زيارة إمام زمان.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كل وليك حجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعيدا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا